All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Coach's Chronicles with me, Coach Peters, where today I feel like we got to talk about a very, very important thing when it comes to establishing cultures and all the other things that we see nowadays when we're talking about teams and athletes. So today, what I wanted to focus on was building a winning mindset. Now, there's some things about that because what needs to happen to understand about building a winning mindset is I don't think people do this enough, and I don't think it's unfair to the game by not doing this, not paying attention to winning traditions. And you might be like, "Man, what are you talking about, Coach? Winning traditions?" So these are the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about like Wooden's UCLA basketball teams, for example, right? Major winning programs, done things that nobody else has done. I'm talking Jordan's Bulls, 2 3-peats within 8 years, right? I'm talking Tom Brady's Patriot teams, a team that has 6 championships over a 20-year span, right? I'm talking the Steel Curtain, the Steelers of the 70s who just dominated people, right? These are the teams that I'm talking about when I say identifying winning traditions before you even try to establish a culture. What did it take? Why were they so good at what it is they did? What is it that I'm missing that I'm trying to get out of my people, right? So that's something that I would say do first. Identify why were Shaq and Kobe so successful, other than having Phil Jackson. But why was it able to happen? Why did they get that three-peat? So whenever I thought about that, it brought me to one of my first topics of the day. Now, before we get too far into the topic, I do want to remind you guys, episode 1, The Journey Begins, is now streaming. So if you haven't had a chance to do so, please do so. Also, before we get any further, please make sure that you like, share, subscribe with this episode, whether it is on YouTube, whether you're watching it somewhere on Instagram, you caught it on Twitter, whatever. Find your way to the pod. It's going to be something that's worth the time. It's worth the experience. It's going to be great content. And it's just beginning. So it's about to really take off. But now, back to the topic at hand, the theme of the episode. Building a winning mindset. How do we do that? What is one of the first things that we should do? The first thing that I suggest for everyone to do is to establish mental toughness. Mental toughness. Now, you may be thinking like, okay, what is that? Why is it so important and why do we need it? Okay, so what is mental toughness? Okay, so mental toughness is that thing that is inside of us as a person, as an athlete, whatever it is that you may be, that when you are doing this, right, there's a certain level of things that may always try to present themselves to break you down. But the question is, are you going to let them break you down? Will they be able to break you down? Is the direct question. How much mental toughness do you have? What do you have in the cards? What is it to present? Second thought when it comes to mental toughness is, how do you build it? How do I do that? Well, you do little things all day, every day. Always tricking the mind, always doing something to the athlete, preparing them for a situation that they're not yet ready to see. Those little things will take them to a new place and build their mental toughness. Like, for example, you might walk out and be like, okay, this is what we got today. We got 25 sprints to end practice. Now, excuse me. This can go one or two ways. We can add to the 25 by not doing what we're supposed to do, by complaining, by not holding each other accountable, by getting worse within the drills. Or we can take away from the 25 because the maximum level of what it is that we're doing is so high, because we have such a high standard about what it is that we're doing. We're going to take away and chomp at it to where, hey, when we're done, we might not even have 25. We might have 15. But the choice is yours and how you're going to respond into this situation, right? Building that mental toughness. Another blurb I would give you is every time they think they're done, add something else. Do something else. Never let a kid or any athlete or whoever it is that you're dealing with think it's over. It could be that one group that rotates through to you, and you say, all right, this time we're on 8-minute timer. But if then the kid goes, but everybody else got 6 minutes, coach. So what are we gonna do about it? We're gonna cry about it, or we're just gonna work. Does it change the fact that even though you got 8, they got 8 somewhere else too? We're all in a rotation. You just keep building them, right? To where whenever the punches come, whenever anything comes at them, they're already ready for it. That's what building mental toughness is. And why do I need mental toughness? Because when the going gets tough, like they always say, you got to know that person that you're looking at, that soldier that you got over there, that soldier going to come through for me. I'm not even worried about it, because whatever they can say on the other sideline, I can leave him over there. I can leave him over there away from me. I don't have to talk to her. I don't have to know that she got to listen to everything that I say just to be able to be successful. No, you have already prepared this child this way. You prepared this kid. You prepared this athlete every day. You've built this mental toughness, which is the first step in establishing a winning mindset. How strong is my mind over everything that may try to come in front of me? Now, the next thing that I feel is very, very important when building this winning culture, right, is we got to be ready to overcome adversity. Because this is the thing that we all have to understand about adversity. Number one is this: it's coming regardless. There ain't nothing you can do about it. Excuse me, you can do about it. Adversity is like having, the ability to breathe. Like having the oxygen that is around us. It's gonna be there. So you're gonna have to deal with it, right? You can't stop the fact that the sun is coming up and it's gonna be hot in Southeast Texas. So it's gonna happen. So as long as you're in sports, as long as you're an athlete, as long as you're doing these things, understand adversity is coming, right? You have to prepare your kids for that. And that goes back to what I said about establishing that mental toughness. I established adversity in front of you every day, because every time you thought you were done, I hit you with something else, right? Or when you thought it was going to be this type of day, I set up something else so that you could never get comfortable, right? And you may be wondering, like, what is it that we're going to be able to do when it comes? What do I do when it comes? How do I prepare for it? Every day. You're going to prepare for it every single day. Every day. So there will never be a time where you're not going to be prepared for it. Because the moment that you step foot, whether it's on the gridiron, whether it's on the hardwood, the preparation is beginning right now. As a coach, you should be setting it up for them right now to be ready for when this comes. There ain't nothing in front of them that's going to stop them. This is why establishing mental toughness first for me is the thing that leads to overcoming adversity. Because if I am tough mentally, right, and I'm prepared, there's things that really can't break me. When another hurdle steps in front of me, I'm already ready and prepared for it, because I have that small principle of being a winner because of what someone has instilled in me, that I'm not gonna be shaken. And it's very important for me to look on my left and me to look on my right and to see soldiers next to me ready to go right with me, so that when adversity steps in front of us, none of us are shaken, because every day we practice this. And that's what you see out of the teams who are winners, that whenever something shows up that looks unfamiliar, it's not as unfamiliar to them. It's unfamiliar to you, because you don't see how they prepare. You're not there on the days where it is a bad practice, right? Where they expected to go outside and thought it was going to be a sunny day, and they just knew, man, we about to, really work on the pass game, and it's thunderstorming, or it's raining, or it's doing this. And some people will check out and be like, well, it's just a wash of a day, man. We ain't got nothing to do. Well, if you feel like that, then what you're going to do is you're going to run into a problem, right? If you got film, if there's indoor exercises that you can do, there's always something else to be able to get by. You don't never lose the day just because something else stepped in front of you. You always win the moment. Nothing can stop you when it comes to adversity. Adverse moments, like I said, are coming regardless. So the question is, what are you going to do when they're there? That's a big thing, right? And which leads me to my last point, which is being resilient. Why is being resilient so important? When it comes to being resilient, my last point, couple of things to understand, right? As the leader in the room, you got to set the example. You got to set the table. Like I just went back and talked about when that thunderstorm hit or when it's raining. What are you going to do when it does? How are you going to be prepared? What are you going to say to those kids who are looking for you to lead them? How are you going to respond? You going to smack your lips too? Oh, man, nothing we can do there. I guess we might as well go home. If you do that, you've already sent them to a place that they want to go now. They are, yeah, man, we get to go home, And I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't once an athlete who came in and when I saw rain or it was thundering and was like, yeah, let's go. We not going outside. But what I didn't know until I got on the other side is all that was doing was hurting us. All it was doing was hurting us. When we complained about now having to still be there, all it was doing was hurting us. And our opponent that probably beat us that week did something valuable and probably did not complain as much as we did, which is why the outcome was so different. You feel me? So that's something that's very, very important. Now, when you set the example, because like I say, it can be a good example or it can be a bad example. It's on you. That's the big thing. It's on you. It can be a good example or it can be a bad example. It depends on the example that what you want. What you want will show on you. Now, when you set the table, the troops going to follow. So if you respond with, well, we already know what rolls in next, right? It's a thunderstorm type day. It's a rainy day. So this is what our practice plan is. This is what we transition into. If they already know that, boom, just like that, we already into the next thing. We're in the next phase. This is the indoor plan. We know coach ain't going to never let nothing go by. He ain't going to never let no day go by to where we ain't working, right? We're going to break up into position groups, receivers, running backs, quarterbacks. Y'all are together. We're in film room down here, down this hall, O-line, D-line. You guys are going to be meeting over here. Special teams, you're going over here. We already have a plan, right? If it's basketball, right? We're going to be like, okay, bigs, you guys are on the other side of the court right now. You guys are working. Well, if it's indoors and it's basketball, we indoors anyway. You know what I mean? So there's still something, they're already good, right? So if we're talking basketball, those people are already in a good situation. This is mainly about having a plan for whenever you're in a football situation, right? You have to make an adjustment. Or if, to help you out with basketball, you go to a big program, have a lot of teams, limited amount of space because somebody else had to move a practice, right? Instead of you folding in and figuring out like, all right, we can't do this. No, you guys come together as a collective. All right, we're just going to split the time, right? So JV, y'all go in first. Freshman A, you guys will be working on this. We got box jumping and explosives in the hallway while JVA goes and work half court offense, half court defense, and then we'll rotate every 15 minutes because then we'll be ready to go. And by the time that, all of this takes place, gym reopen, boom, we back to getting what we need to get. A resilient person is somebody who is going to always look for a way. They're never going to accept what is right in front of them. And the question is, for you as a leader, will you be the person that will accept what's right in front of you, or will you always find the way to make sure that your troops are ready for battle? Establishing mental toughness, preparing them for adversity because it's something that's going to come, and always being resilient as a leader is the perfect storm to be able to get them and help them weather the storm when anything steps in front of them. It all starts with you. Follow these principles and you'll set You establish a winning culture, and then the troops will always follow you, and things are gonna always be great. All right, guys, and for my next segment, like I always said, I always want to shine a light on history and the history of the game. Well, today we're gonna pay homage in some basketball terms to one of the most famous and beloved figures in basketball that we've ever had. Here we have Dr. James Naismith. Now, if you are unfamiliar with who Dr. James Naismith is, he is the person who founded the glorious game of basketball in 1891 in Springfield, Massachusetts. Originally, it was a game that was created to be less injury prone from the sport of football. It was an indoor sport, right? And this brilliant young mind of Dr. James Naismith was only 31 years old. And at the time of the creation, and I'm sure the game that he created all those many years ago, he never would have knew that it would be this way. Over the years, it picked up steam to where it went from just being a national game to a global enterprise. So to Dr. James Naismith, we thank you for your contributions to the sport. Now, in the next part of this, the Q&A, we talk about this. I'm still looking for those questions. I'm looking for those answers all the time. Shoot them to me, DMs, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Any way that you can find me. Comment on this page. Shoot me a question that's something that you want to talk about. We have a special segment built in just for that we can get to you. And lastly, the closing and the call to action. First thing, like I always say, when it comes to the pod, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend about the pod. Coaches Chronicles is it, man, and it's going to be something good. We're talking stories and we're talking strategies and we're talking tips to be able to help you lead the next wave of young people, right? So, in close, building a winning mindset, establishing a culture that is going to be something that produces a lifelong of winners, not just in sports, but in life, period, right? You want them to understand how to identify winning traditions and what sticks out from them. When they look at these winning traditions, are they looking at mental toughness, right? Do they understand that element of what that is and how you need that when you go into battle? To understand adversity is something that's coming and you have to be able to overcome it. And in order to overcome it, you have to have mental toughness and to be resilient. You always find a way to find a way. You never stop. You keep going. Whatever's put in front of you, nothing will hold you back. If you establish those principles and you stay with those things, you will always be in the right place. This is Coach's Chronicle, and I'm Coach P. I'm out, y'all.